Hello there and welcome to Jadiel Kabiro Unfiltered. My name is Jadiel Kabiro, here for our usual political conversations which I hope will help our leaders make informed policy decisions and practical political moves. These conversations, of course, are usually very simple, truthful, and unbiased. My guest today is a man whose face you've seen severally. We're going to talk about the Infotrak's CountyTrak Performance Index for 2023 for our members of parliament. He's called Richard Mwenja. He's our resident business analyst. How are you doing today? And our presenter, how are you?
I'm well, Jadiel.
It's interesting we're meeting on this Sunday with your colorful blazer. How are you doing?
All the way from Westbridge.
From Westbridge.
Definitely.
You know, one of the few things we want to talk about today is about our MPs.
Sure.
And you probably want to tell me first what you think about this performance index for this year before you tell me anything else.
Very well, it's quite surprising and interesting. It's a cocktail of both ends. Incredible highlights therein, and also heart-wrenching loss. Some of the seasoned members of parliament not quite performing as expected by many. And also you're seeing newcomers on board really surprising us with really impressive development. So it's a mix of both ends.
In case you don't know who's the top performing member of parliament in Kenya, it's Ndindi Nyoro, the member of parliament for Kiharu, followed closely by Honorable Peter Kihuingi, who is the member of parliament for Kangema. At number 5, they are tying in John Mwirigi of Igembe South, Gideon Molingi of Mwingi Central, Honorable Chris Aseka of Huisero. You told me it's Huisero.
Huisero, the backyard of Papa Roma, Moses Wetangula.
And then we go to Honorable Robert Mbuyo of Kathiani and Peter Kaluma of Homa Bay Town. Ndindi Nyoro, you know, he's one of the most vocal members of parliament in this country. You've seen him on media headlines. He's supporting President William Ruto to live or die, if that's a word. And then we see the development he's doing in Murang'a County, in his constituency, Kiharu. What has attributed to his placement there? Why is he number one, 70%?
Jadiel, actually, I should throw a disclaimer out there even before we start this conversation, before we get straight into Ndindi Nyoro. I mean, it will only be fair for us to be sort of balanced. And case in point, say, in the Catholic calendar, this month of November, we normally dedicate it to pray for the souls of all the dearly departed faithfuls. So even before we start the conversation on who performed best or worst, it is right that you allow me also to remember this. I mean, today, all those members of parliament who have departed from their commandate in the National Assembly and went to do different things from what the electorate took them to parliament to do. So if that's right with you, and then you can head straight to it.
Ndindi Nyoro, I was asking you earlier.
Oh yeah, sure.
What is attributed to his placement there at 70%? Is it publicity? Is he doing something? What do you think?
For Ndindi Nyoro, from my standpoint, I believe he's someone who's been able to strike an equilibrium between both ends, publicity and also literally sticking true to what took him to parliament. If you look at his performance index and look at some indices such as his scorecard when it comes to education, it is in the public domain. Ndindi Nyoro is one of the members of parliament who has been able to revitalize the fortunes of many people of Kiharu, and one of the ways to prepare them for such fortunes is really invest in education. Look at the penetration of bursary, National Government Constituency Development Fund that is allocated towards bursaries. Almost every school they are in, many students are benefiting from it. Look at the normal development, like accessibility to the markets. If you look at his scorecard to basic infrastructure like roads, it is really out there, and this is something that is in the public domain. So for him, he has been able to literally address the low-hanging fruits and the most basic challenges in Kiharu, which really resonate to the masses. You cannot come and really pitch this huge project for the people that they cannot resonate with, that you want to develop this huge factory that will employ them. No, but you fix little issues like access to the markets, access to bursary for their children, access to quality healthcare in the government hospitals in Kiharu, then that literally will definitely set your performance up there. And for Ndindi Nyoro, he's been able to remember his true calling to parliament. Fix the little development issues in Kiharu, but at the same time, leverage on media publicity for his future politics. And like many politicians, we see them really focusing on their future political bids and forget to really act on what is important, which is development as at now.
And when you say that, you talk about publicity, you've said has been able to strike an equilibrium there. My mind races to Kimani Chung, who hasn't been featured at all. We're going to go through this list and different categories, who hasn't been featured at all, and he's playing national politics. He's the leader of National Dialogue Committee in Bomas. He hasn't been featured here at all. What does this mean? You can be very popular, be on screens every single day, and still your people don't know what you're doing. What's the case with that?
Very well. I think it's the same predicament that fell Aden Duale when he was the Garissa Township Member of Parliament then. Remember, he was still the majority leader by then. And even if you look at his performance record then, it wasn't really quite out there, quite telling and quite selling. You get it? So once Ishungwa got into Parliament, being given this huge post of majority leader, somewhat I think it diverted much of his attention to national politics issues, and he really forgot, the people of his constituency. And for him, I think it's high time that he gets that clarion call to really get back to the scratching board. He already has that position of majority leader, and even Ndindi Nyoro is the chairperson of the Budgets and Appropriations Committee, a very powerful docket in the National Assembly. So there's nothing that Kimani Ichung'wah can justify that will make him say, maybe I couldn't perform so much on ground because I had this really demanding position in Parliament. It's a question of you just striking a balance between the both ends and remaining true to what took you there. There's nothing further that can explain that, Jad, because you can't say I'm the minority whip in Parliament, so I do not have much time for the people of Luo Nyanza, where I come from. It's a question of just knowing to strike the balance. And the balance, you strike it by remembering, once you lose this seat in the next coming election, there are little chances that you won't even get that majority leader position. That's an elected leader's position. You get it?
Well, one of the few things I like about the discussion we have and the discussion I'm having with you is because I know you know what is happening in the ground. You've had several interviews about the state of politics and governance, the state of the economy of this country, and so you know what everyone is doing in their regions. But this is a perception index, right? This is what people think about their MPs. True. Do you believe that this is actually the reality on the ground? If people say you're not working, despite them thinking that you are not, you really probably could be working. Do you think this is the case with Ichung'wah? People don't think he's working and he's working. Could this be the situation?
Not quite, Jad. A Swahili adage puts it all out there, palipo na moshi, hapakosi moto.
Yeah.
And in every sound, in every noise out there, there's some little ounce of truth therein. Face the reality, Jad. Look at the high cost of living therein. These are issues, no matter, it doesn't really bother what side of the government you are in, pro-government or the other division. These are basic issues that should not blindfold you to become, say, a sycophant or really to praise the government of the day, yet it's not really quite working. So for Kimani Ichung'wah, we cannot say that maybe he's working, but people on the other end feel he's not working. If the people looking at this perception index haven't rated him as the best, then he isn't the best. Because there are also people in government who are as vocal as he is, but they're really performing on the ground.
Yeah.
And take it to the bank, Jad. You cannot escape this. It's 1 year into office with this new government. Look at the inflation rates in this country. It's all out there. It's ballooning and it's skyrocketing inflation. You get it? Look at the disruption of global supply chains and how they've really affected us, the ripple effects. We've done so little to fix them. So people are crying on the ground. And this Infotrak survey came in handy just at the right time, in the nick of time, to really amplify the cry in the ground. And if they've rated you as not the best performing person, then you aren't. Nothing to do with whether you're vocal or not.
Number 3 amongst top 10 MPs, of course, they've tied Igembe South, Mwingi Central, Kwisero, Kathiani, and Homa Bay. Let's talk a little bit about Peter Kaluma, who's at number 3, has been vocal when it comes to national issues, speaking about LGBTQ community, actually calling for the prohibition of them meeting as a community. Also today, just heard him speak about what is happening in Israel and Hamas, also very vocal about what is happening internationally. What's your thinking about Peter Kaluma and why he has been ranked number 3 by his constituents in Homa Bay?
For Peter Kaluma, one thing stands out about him. If you go back in time, the person that you can sort of liken to Peter Kaluma, the then vibrant Samantha Karua, Mukisa Kitui, who were big into political activism. If you look at Peter Kaluma, he's been one person who's always been voiceful about issues with balanced regional development. And he comes from Luo Nyanza, a region in Kenya which oftentimes hasn't really received development carrots and really massive development, all thanks to their position with the government of the day. Oftentimes they've been the opposition bucket. But he's been one person who's been so voiceful about such issues, really spearheading a need for regional balance in development and also matters with checks in governance. He's not afraid to talk about, the loose ends in Azimio, the issues therein in terms of even the performance of Azimio governance.
He's independent thinking.
An independent thinker, we can say. An independent thinker. And one thing that can be shared with independent thinkers, they're not afraid of criticizing the government or the opposition of the day. They're political activists. All they want is to see a change in governance, a change in development, and all that. And I think this is something that resonates with his constituents. And perhaps why through this perception index, they felt this is one person who's always taken the interest of us to parliament, even with the allocation of the CDF and other allocations to this county that trickle down to the constituencies, he's always really appropriated them in a very good manner.
He's number one. He's the number one member of parliament in the Nyanza region, followed by Charles Ongondo, Mark Ogola, Honorable Cliff Ombane, James Wambura, and then we feature Honorable Millie Grace Akoth Odhiambo, Ugunja MP, also number 5, together with Millie Odhiambo. That's James Opio. Let's head over to West. I'm just looking at the numbers for you, just to let you know what Infotrak has given us on their CountyTrak Performance Index of 2023. In Western Region, we have Quisoro, Member of Parliament, who's number 1 in Western, who's number 2 in the country, with that is Christopher Aseka, and then number 2, interestingly, is Honorable Salasia, that is Peter Kalerwa Salasia from Mumias East. What do you think about Salasia there? He's been very vocal. We've seen him on social media platforms. Actually, a video from him yesterday, I was seeing him on TikTok showing us some dollars. He was stranded at an airport together with Nyako, the TikToker. What do you think about Salasia? His way of playing politics, his way of showing governance in his region. We've seen him building homes for people there. We've seen people camping at his home, people wanting some help. Of course, understanding the situation on the ground. He has said severally he's not good at English. He did his studies, but not that well. But then he says he understands the people, and that's why people elected him, despite them knowing that he's not as good as other MPs who are well learned. What do you think about Salasia?
Actually, for Salasia, just to begin with, I mean, he comes position 2 in Western Kenya, performance of members of parliament therein. But from my end, from my optic, I think he has been the best. Look, number 1 is Christopher Aseka, Quisero Member of Parliament. He's not a first-time Member of Parliament. He's not a first-time Member of Parliament. On the other end, Peter Salas is a first-time Member of Parliament. And him, triumphing over all the seasoned politicians in Western, the long-serving members of Parliament to come at number 2. Yeah. Actually, this is a brilliant performance from him. Kimilili MP
actually at number 9.
Didmas Barasa. With all that being vocal and that. Actually, one thing, Jad, your presence on media or your publicity is not a measure of your excellence or performance in the ground, especially when it comes now to matters with the elected positions. And for Peter Salasia, for him, he has made peace with the fact that he might look naive, he might look sort of outdated and all that thing. But remember, when it comes now to the real issues, look, he's been very visible about the sugar crisis in Western Kenya. They talk about privatizing a number of state sugar mills. He's been very vocal around it. He's actually been fixing issues there in penetration of education, CDF there in Mumias East. So for him, trumping over all the rest to come at number 2 is in itself a huge brilliant performance from Salasia.
Then the issue that we had back in 2022, I would want to talk about that. You know, MPs' requirement to have their degrees, and MPs to look learned, MPs to look like they've gone to school. And this is one of the few issues we had together with Mike Sonko, YT2, who was first about getting his degrees. What does this mean about leadership and education? From what you think about that? Because when he was at KICC, he had this conversation about climate change, and people were saying, hey, you don't know what you're saying. And then it seems like people in his constituency believe that he's a good leader, he has performed well, and they have ranked him highly. What do you think about that?
from a general perspective, actually, academic excellence or just how high you've gone through the ladder of academics does not really automatically qualify you as the best on the other end when it comes to now leadership positions and all that. I mean, how many professors do we have in this country or even at the university? But they're not heads of departments. But you find someone there lower than their rank who is the head of the department, say a doctor. You cannot equate, academics to justify that you really need to be at a certain rank when it comes to leadership. And this is one thing that Selassie embraced from the very beginning. And that's why even the Constitution of Kenya hasn't really said, as a member of parliament, you must have a doctorate degree or something like that. You need basic education to make you be able to understand basic issues, global issues, basic national issues, and issues that directly affect the people that will be governing. And that's all you need before you get into these seats. And that's why you need a degree, or at least you need to get a certain level of education, which they believe universally will make you be a better person to look at global aspects, national aspects, and all that.
And be a legislator too.
And to be a legislator too. So, and don't even be surprised. People like Jalango, they're just undergraduate degree holders. But don't be surprised if they work and really perform far much better than seasoned professors who are in parliament.
Yeah.
And for Selassie, this is one thing that has worked for him. He's actually come forth and really embraced that fact many times before the people saying, I do not know the best of English in this town. I don't have the best of certificates in my envelope. But one thing I know is why I was elected to parliament. And I'm going to deliver on that. And there are people around him. Of course, he's a member of parliament. He has his staff. And these are people around him who really help him get advice on economic decisions that he has to make, on political decisions that he has to make. So him not being educated does not mean that his entire circle around him is not educated. There's a way he can leverage on other people around him to really work for the people. And that's one thing you do. If I'm going to parliament and I'm sitting across with people who are professors, then all I need to do as a person with just a degree, an undergraduate degree, is to get Jadiel, who has a professorship in something, to be helping me in decision making. I personally do not necessarily need to have that sort of qualification. And for Selassie, aside with all those other issues that people feel he should have, he's been able to deliver on what really took him there.
Let's come to where we are recording this show at the county of Nairobi, where Babu Owino has been ranked as the best performing member of parliament. Embakasi East member of parliament, Babu Owino, at 60%. That's what his constituents have given him. And you mentioned Felix Oduor, who's at number 10. Number 2, of course, is Wetangula Timothy Wanyonyi. Number 3, Embakasi Central, Gathiri Benjamin, and Embakasi North, Guya James Mwangi. I'm happy to see my member of parliament, Embakasi West, Mwenja Mark Samuel Mureithi, at number 7. Let me just be biased. Let me just mention him. And Kasarani MP, Ronald Karauri Kamwiko, coming at also tying with my MP at number 7. Babu Owino, he's number 1 in Nairobi. What do you think about Babu Owino? Who is Babu Owino for you that his constituents have ranked him at 60%? What is he doing there?
We have to begin from the onset of it and understand the person that is Babu Owino. Remember this, someone who's gone through Raila Odinga's political academy. Raila Odinga is a seasoned politician and also a leader in this country. You've seen the marvelous things he's been able to do for this country. I mean, we cannot run from that fact. So having someone who's been his long-term protege, and now he's gotten into elective politics, so he's gone to the ground with so much gravitas, because he really knows how to govern these people. He really knows areas of interest that he should prioritize, especially in urban politics. Urban politics is not the same as village politics. I mean, my member of parliament from, say, Soy, I cannot somewhat equate him from a member of parliament who is based here in Nairobi. The dynamics are very different. The politics of town and that of the village are worlds apart. And one thing that has helped Babu in also being, look at him as a former student leader of UON, based here in Nairobi, being with students who are domiciled here, understanding their issues, their challenges, going to Embakasi East, a very youthful constituency. It means it's just a transition from serving people in school and now serving people at the ground level in the form of a constituency. So he's been in touch with reality from back in the days. And then being close to someone who's really a seasoned leader like Raila Odinga, somewhat I think that has trickled down to him and embedded in him the best virtues a leader should have, which is strike a very marvelous development performance, and also being able to leverage on national politics. Look, right now, he's been considered as the potential threat to Governor Sakaja.
That's where I was heading.
And you can imagine, I mean, many people have thought maybe Babu Owino will go for that, will be positioned for that seat maybe after 20 years in parliament or something. He's just been a first-time MP. This is the second time he's getting into parliament. But already he's been seen as a potential threat to Sakaja. So that really tells this is someone who's been able to understand the Nairobi politics, not just Embakasi's politics, but the larger Nairobi politics. Remember?
Yeah.
So I think one thing that has worked for him is just being in touch with the ground from his heydays as a student leader. Then going through Raila's Odinga Political Academy when he get into parliament, and even before then, and all these things is really leverage on them and brought them together to serve people in Embakasi East. And remember, this one person who is really down to earth. Unlike what many other people, you find a member of parliament is in Nairobi, but goes to the village only on weekends, and even during the weekends, he only appears in churches. You'll find Babu Owino in the morning in Jiru, the next day is at the Kibanda with the people, with traders in the market. For him, it's not sort of a ceremonial office. It's a real office, working for the people from morning to evening, 24 days, 24 hours a day. And this one thing of being in touch with the ground, being in touch with the reality, and really embedding in him the virtues that a leader should have has really helped him. And of course, he has made political mistakes, big ones, but he's been quick to apologize and really fix his messes. And that's one thing that sets him apart, that even constituents feel this is our person. He makes mistakes, but oftentimes the mistakes do not supersede the good things he's doing for us and the future that he has for Embakasi East. And that's why they really believe in his vision of being the Nairobi governor.
Maybe in a minute, do you think he has a future in Nairobi as a governor?
Sure, by and large, I could give him a 60% chance he could be the governor of Nairobi
60
County.
means you've taken it, so maybe he will be the next. Real quick, let's take a look at the top 10 performing female members of parliament. This is Samburu West Member of Parliament, Leisuda Josephine Naisula, who has been ranked at 63% by her constituents, and followed closely by Honorable Odhiambo Millie Grace Akoth. This is Millie Odhiambo, Suba North Member of Parliament, number 2, who has been followed by Muhia Wanjiku of Kipipiri, Rangwe MP, Gogo Lilian, and Kitui West MP, Nyenze Edith, Kitui South, Nyamai Rachel Kaki, they've tied at number 3. So the best performing female member of parliament is Leisuda Naisula, followed by Millie Odhiambo. One thing I do know about Leisuda, who has been also ranked as number 2 in Rift Valley, I know she did journalism. She was practicing in Samburu. She was the first woman to be elected in Samburu as a member of parliament. At 63%, she has this bill for interns. She came up with this bill saying that interns, despite having their stipend at the end of the month, they need to have health insurance, and interns need to have these maternity leaves, paternity leaves. She really cares about young people working for government. What do you think about her?
For Naisula Leisuda, her brilliant performance doesn't really come as a surprise. Remember, this is a person from Samburu County. And oftentimes it's a county that we've seen very little performance rating, even back in time. But Naisula, she's been out there, and really one of the causes she's really, really passionate about is empowerment, gender empowerment, and particularly women empowerment. Addressing issues such as FGM, and then looking at access to equal opportunities for both the boy child in Samburu and the girl child. And she is a woman, yes, but she's really, really, really radical, like speaking the truth to power on many occasions, and also literally looking at her take to the globe, to the national stage, national politics. Someone from Samburu, oftentimes which has seen leaders who are sort of lukewarm, but she's all out here. I think it has really shown some sense of enthusiasm in the eyes of her electorate, and seeing her spearhead projects that deal with empowerment, especially girl child empowerment. I think this is one thing that has really endeared him to the masses, and that's why they are also able to help her fulfill her visions for the constituency. And Naisula Leisuda is one of those members of parliament from Samburu whom, when you hear they have a future ambition to be the governor, you cannot really dismiss it there and then, because she really holds, her ground really holds water. You get it? But for Naisula Leisuda, I think it's a mix of both, enjoying the media publicity and also being really, really vocal about pertinent issues and challenges in Samburu West that has set her apart from the rest. And for Millie Odhiambo, come on, these are seasoned political activists. Yeah. These are seasoned leader who understands the nitty-gritties on how to run a constituency, and also how to do national leadership. And it doesn't really come as a surprise that she was position 2. But for Naisula Lesuda, it's a really huge performance from her.
Well, that has been our conversation on the top performing members of parliament in Kenya. If you want to see the full list of top 150 MPs, you can check Infotrak on their social media platforms. This is Infotrak on X, used to be Twitter. Thank you for tuning into this conversation. 150 MPs have been listed there. The bottom ones, we don't know who they are, but if your MP is not among this list, let me just look at who's number 150.
Sadly, my member of parliament is not ranked anywhere here. So sad. So unfortunate.
From Soy.
I won't really disclose that because I come from the border of Trans Nzoia and Uasin Gishu. So I won't really trickle down so that you guys don't really go hard on him.
All right, but if you're not top 150, you're probably at 290. Thank you for tuning into this conversation. Congratulations to the top performing MPs in Kenya. We hope you will take center stage in the next leadership of this country, but from 2027, maybe one of you will be our president and maybe you can turn things around. But for now, we're hoping William Ruto will make the changes we need. Congratulations to Ndindi Nyoro, Babu Owino, Leisuda, Millie Odhiambo,
Peter Salasia,
Kwesero MP, together with Peter Salasia.
Yes.
You're doing a very good job. Jalango is at number 9 in Nairobi. Congratulations to him too. Those are just the names that are coming on top of my head, and congratulations to my member of parliament Mukasi West. Nitakuja nikutembele unipe chai kwa sababu nimekutaja taja. Thank you for tuning in. Until we talk again, this has been Kabiro Unfiltered, talking about Infotrak's survey, CountyTrak Performance Index for the year 2023. We'll have these conversations again and again so that we know where our members of parliament are ranking, together with all leaders in this country. Have yourself a lovely rest of your day. Thank you, Richard, for coming.
Asante sana. It's a distinguished honor to have you, also to have me on board. And I hope I did my best.
Tutaongea after the show. Thank you.